Good evening. This is Debra V. Wilson. It is Wednesday, the 13th of December, 2017, and the time is it's midnight, 45 minutes after midnight, and that's GMT minus 6. On Sunday, the 10th of December, 2017, here in Winnipeg, it's also International Day of Human Rights, I attended a citizenship ceremony at the Canadian Museum of Human Rights. It's the first such ceremony I've ever attended in any country. So for me, it was both edifying and emotionally moving. But my emotions aside, I'm going to focus on the security aspect of it. Canada Immigration Newsletter reports that as of July 2000, between the time period of July 2015 and July 2016, Canada has admitted over 300,000 new immigrants. Portion of the immigrants in this country go on to be full citizens. I'm going to link all the necessary information. But my purpose in mentioning the number, to give you a ballpark of the numbers, the scale of new arrivals who might potentially become citizens are coming to this country, and the concerns the country might have from a security perspective. And I think that's fair to say, and I think that's reasonable to think that any country, if you're born in a country, your country, you're there. You're there. But if you're new to a country, a new arrival, a country might wonder who you are and why you're there, and if you are going to fit in who and what the country is, or how the country perceives itself. In this ceremony, I got to see that. I got to see how Canada views herself and how she views her new arrivals. So there are 2 points of this ceremony. I'm going to post the ceremony directly after my talk, and there are 2 portions of the ceremony I particularly want you to focus on. The talk by Mr. Dwight MacAulay, and listen to his words. I think the talk was really fascinating because it not only states who and what Canada perceives herself to be, it also states Canada's obligation to all of her citizens. And then Mr. MacAulay goes even further, and he reaches out to the new arrivals, the new citizens, my apologies, there are 48 of them, and he tells them the expectation the state has from you. What I find most appealing and positive and rather shocking, it's the state openly acknowledging we're in relationship with our citizens and you're in relationship with us. The country is presented by Mr. MacAulay in all of her splendor of glory, and then he goes on to say, I'm paraphrasing, let's keep Canada great, and you can help with that by bringing your culture, your skill set, by being yourself, the best you are. I think I'm very, given the times we're in, and the construct of the other, the foreigner, the different one, the one with the quote-unquote accent, as if we all don't have accents, but the quote-unquote foreign accent. And that in this citizenship ceremony, this representative of the Canadian government is saying, bring yourself, your best of yourself, and also acknowledging the best of what Canada is, and saying if you find ways in which Canada needs to improve, help with that improvement. Mr. MacAulay talks about volunteer work. He talks about citizens, all Canadian citizens, being an ambassador for the country when they travel near and far. He talks about engagement, that you're not alone. You're now part of the Canadian family. We will give you our loyalty, and we expect you to return that loyalty to us. Because why? You're a Canadian. And this is what it means to be a Canadian. I think for a nation to start off with its new citizens by proclaiming, you're not the other, you're part of the family, can only be viewed as positive. And then to acknowledge to the citizens that whilst this is a great country, you should feel privileged to be here. If you should happen to come across issues, dynamics, things in Canada that you feel need to be improved, then work with your other citizens, with the government, to improve those things. I think it's a right way and a positive way to start a new citizen on their journey of being a Canadian, to root that person in the country, to say you're not the other, you're not a foreigner, you're part of the family, you're a Canadian. And then toward the end of the ceremony, the Member of Parliament, Dr. Robert Falcon Ouellette, he's an MP in Winnipeg, stands and talks about the various Indigenous communities, the Métis communities, and what they've given, and the original founders of this country. He shares some of his culture with a song entitled The Honor Song, in which he tells the new Canadians, your journey may not have been easy getting here. You may not always find that this is a place where there is justice for all, but when you find that there isn't a place for justice for all, use your skill set, your heart, and your strength to help facilitate a space and a place that is called Canada, that's inclusive and provides justice and equality for everyone. I'm going to post, and I will note in the description box the particular places that you should tune into to this talk. It's only, the entire video is only an hour and 5 minutes. I would implore you, and hopefully you'll listen to the entire video. There's just enough pomp and circumstance that brands the country, that says again and again, this is Canada. The song, the MP, the song he sings is a song calling on your ancestors, telling the new Canadians they're not alone. You're not alone because you have your ancestors, and for me that is, you bring yourself, you bring your history, you bring your people with you, and all of that becomes a part of Canada. It doesn't separate you from the country. It is now what becomes more, because you become part of the whole society that is Canada. And for me, with my emphasis and focus on security and how and why the state can sometimes cause citizens to feel separate and not the other, to see this was amazing. Again, the entire video of the ceremony, the citizen ceremony, is just over an hour. It gives lessons on how the state can engage with new citizens, on how the state can engage with citizens, on how the state can acknowledge the great and good things about the country and challenges that still need to be addressed, to ask to say to the citizens, with us, help us address those things. We won't be defined by our imperfections, but by our journey to correct what is wrong in this country, and the country being Canada. This is Debra V. Wilson. Take a listen. It's just slightly over an hour, and it's time well spent. Thank you very much.
Before we get started, I would like to explain the procedures of today's ceremony and provide you with some important information. The ceremony will last for about 1 hour. Guests are welcome to take pictures of their friends and family, but please remain on the side aisles when taking pictures or videos so that the flow of the ceremony is not disrupted. The center aisle must remain clear at all times. We are very pleased to see young children here today, and if you're becoming a Canadian citizen, you need to stay in the room for the full length of the ceremony. If you need to, there is an area outside of our ceremony that's where your guests can accompany your children if they start to cry or become destructive during today's ceremony. Out of respect for the dignity of the ceremony, it is not permitted to wear hats, unless of course it's for traditional religious beliefs, health purposes, or part of an official uniform. In case of an emergency today, there are 2 exits from this room, one on each side from where you came in from, and also washrooms are located on each side of the building as well. In a few moments, today's presiding official, Mr. Dwight MacAulay, will enter the room signaling the opening of the ceremony. The ceremony will then proceed as follows: words of welcome, administration of the oath of citizenship, presentation of certificates, signing of the oath of citizenship form, congratulatory remarks, and then finally the singing of our national anthem. All candidates 14 years of age and older must repeat the oath of citizenship, as it is the final requirement to becoming a Canadian citizen. You must repeat the oath in English or French or both official languages after Dwight MacAulay. And if there's any doubt that you have taken the oath, you will not be called forward to receive your certificate today. When the presiding official administers the oath of citizenship in English and in French, he will start by saying, "I swear," but you have the choice to say either "I swear" or "I affirm." While taking the oath, please raise your right hand. You will then be called forward one by one, or as a family group, to receive your citizenship certificate, and then to sign the oath of citizenship form. The ceremony will end with the singing of our national anthem. We encourage you to sing it loudly and with pride. We will be singing a bilingual version, but you may choose to sing it in English or in French. The words to O Canada are included in your program today. And now we are delighted to tell you about a very special gift from the Institute for Canadian Citizenship. As our newest Canadian citizens, you are eligible for a cultural access pass that will give you free admission to more than 1,300 museums, art galleries, historic sites, parks, and more for 1 year. You'll also get special discounts on travel and be able to discover the best of Canada from coast to coast to coast. All the information you need to register is in this card, and your pass expires 1 year from today, so please remember to go online and register your pass. We have taken away your permanent resident cards. You will not be getting these back, as after today you are no longer permanent residents. You will be Canadian citizens. You will be presented with a citizenship certificate Your certificate will look like this. Your citizenship certificate is your legal status document. It is not an identity or a travel document. Its sole purpose is to prove your Canadian citizenship. A valid Canadian passport is the only reliable and universally accepted travel document that proves you have the right to enter Canada. Canadian citizens, so including dual citizens, who do not have a valid Canadian passport and present a foreign passport or any document during airport check-in, may face delays or be prevented from boarding their flight to Canada. Before applying for a passport or other government services, you must wait at least 2 days, 2 business days actually, after today's ceremony, and this allows time for our department to confirm in our system that you are now a Canadian citizen. So please ensure that all the information on the front and also on the back of your certificate is accurate, and if it contains any errors, please come and see me after the ceremony. Lastly, you should safeguard your record of landing or your confirmation of permanent residence. This is a document that you may be required to show at a later time, so for example, your old age security benefit. So please take a moment now to turn off the volume of your cell phones before we start. We are now ready to proceed. The ceremony will soon begin.
The citizenship ceremony is now in session.
Please be seated. Mr. MacAulay, in accordance with the provisions of the Citizenship Act, it is my privilege to present to you 48 candidates for citizenship who have complied with the requirements of the Citizenship Act and are now ready to take the oath of citizenship, the final legal requirement to becoming a Canadian citizen.
Thanks very much. Hi everybody, good morning. Bonjour et bienvenue à tout le monde. Comment ça va? Très bien, j'espère. So, good morning everybody and welcome to today's Canadian citizenship ceremony. Who's nervous? Tell me the truth. Nobody? Good. You know that day you've had circled on your calendar for the last month or so? This is it. Sunday, December the 10th. The day your lives, I'm telling you, are literally going to change forever. And it's going to change for the better. So what a great day to become a Canadian citizen, and what a great year to become a citizen of Canada, and what a great place, what a magnificent facility to hold this ceremony, the Canadian Museum of Human Rights. Let me add a sincere thank you to the Canadian Museum of Human Rights for allowing us to hold this very special ceremony in this absolutely magnificent, world-class facility. Do you know why we're here today, December the 10th? Well, today is Human Rights Day, as declared by the United Nations. But today is a very especially important Human Rights Day, because today marks the kickoff to a year-long campaign to mark the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on this day, December the 10th, in 1948. You know, the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights proclaimed the inalienable rights which everyone is entitled to as a human being, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, language, political or other opinions that you might have, national or social origin, regardless of whatever property you may have, and regardless of whatever birth status you may have as well. But all rights, as you know, come with responsibilities, and I'll be talking about that in just a few moments. And we must do our best individually to not only take responsibility for ourselves, for human rights, but also to help others in the community. We've got to stand up for those who can't stand, and we've got to speak up for those who can't speak. We're all very fortunate, very, very fortunate to live in Canada, a democratic country where individual rights and freedoms are respected and protected by a charter. You just have to watch the news any night at any time to know that in other nations, such rights are not guaranteed. You know, we're all aware of some human rights defenders, some of the famous ones, like former Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan. Perhaps the best known person in the world as a human rights defender was the former President of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. But all human rights defenders, most of them in fact, are not well known. They're simply ordinary people, like you and me, working to make a difference. We have several very special guests with us today, and I'd like to acknowledge them and thank them for coming out to share this very special moment with you, the people who are about to become new Canadians. And some of the guests I'm going to introduce will also be speaking to you a little bit later on in the program. First, I want to recognize Elder Harry Bone, if he's still here. Maybe he's already left, I'm not sure. But we're delighted to have him here earlier as part of the program. Member of Parliament, Dr. Robert Falcon Ouellette is here. Thank you for being here, sir. We also have the Vice President of the Canadian Museum of Human Rights, Angela Cassie. Thank you, Angela. Thank you again for all that you've done to make this ceremony possible. Representing the Institute of Canadian Citizenship, Ali Khan Haji is here. And of course, representing the Canadian Armed Forces, we're always delighted and honored to have somebody here representing the Canadian Armed Forces, Captain Nicole Pye. Thank you for being here, Nicole. Captain, and thank you very much for your service as well. You know, we are also, I want to acknowledge that we're holding this ceremony on Treaty 1 land on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the homeland of the Métis people. You know, the histories of Canada's Indigenous people is rich and it is very, very diverse. The history goes back thousands of years, thousands and thousands of years, long before the arrival of Europeans on the eastern shore of what would later become known as Canada. As you all know, 2017 is a very special year for Canada. It's also a very special year for all Canadians. It marks the 150th anniversary of our Confederation. It's a very important milestone, very, very important milestone for our nation. It's a time to celebrate our shared values, our achievements. It's also a time to celebrate our place in the world. Because let me tell you this, Canada does have a very, very important place in the world, and its stature seems to grow with each passing day, week, and month. This year is also a great opportunity to acknowledge our past. It's also an opportunity to move towards a new nation-to-nation relationship with our Indigenous peoples, based on rights, based on respect, and based on partnership. You know, over the past several decades, Canada has become a very multinational and a very multicultural country. In fact, today, there are over 100 different languages spoken in every major city in this country, over 100 different languages, and that certainly includes the city of Winnipeg. You know, it's thanks to our amazing diversity, not in spite of it, but because of it, that we have become a role model for the world. And let me just emphasize that point a little further. About 16 or 17 years ago, former United States President Bill Clinton said in a speech, he said, in a world darkened by ethnic conflicts that often tear nations apart, Canada stands as a role model for the world of how people of different cultures and backgrounds can live and work together in peace, prosperity, and in mutual respect. I mean, let's face it, unless you're a member of the First Nations, we are all from somewhere else. We are all immigrants. It's true. We don't all share the same past. That's a given. But I'll tell you this, we all share the same future. And that future, ladies and gentlemen, that future is Canada. It probably goes without saying, but I'm guessing this is a day that those of you becoming new citizens are going to remember for the rest of your life. Sunday, December the 10th. I hear this from people who've gone through this ceremony 5 years ago, 15 years ago, 30 years ago. And they tell me they remember the day they became a citizen just like it was yesterday. It leaves that much of an impact, on their life. Not that this is going to come as a great surprise to anyone in this room, but did you know the United Nations has said for many years, many years, that Canada is one of the most desirable places in the world to live? Did you know that? Of course you did. That's why you're here this morning, isn't it? And in a few moments, of course, this country, Canada, is going to become an even better place to live. You know why? Because we're going to add 48 outstanding individuals to the Canadian family, and that's you. One of the true benchmarks of being a Canadian, and one of the true benchmarks of Canada itself, I think, is the word freedom. It's hard to outline in a few moments what freedom is and what it means, because I think freedom means something a little bit different to each and every one of us that's gathered here in this beautiful facility here this morning. But as you become new Canadians, and as you embrace and celebrate the new freedoms you're about to receive as Canadians, it's important to always remember, and please never forget, that the freedom we have, the freedom you're about to receive, was not free at all. More than 1.5 million Canadians signed up to serve in the First and Second World Wars and in the Korean conflict. More than 110,000 of those never came home. Over 110,000. And their final resting places are found in over 70 different countries around the world. More than 2,000 Canadians have lost their lives and given in the line of service in peacekeeping operations, domestic operations, and in training services since the end of the Second World War. Let me expand on that last point for just a moment on the peacekeeping operations. Canada has been involved in peacekeeping operations in Darfur, Haiti, Sudan, Eritrea, East Timor, Congo, Sierra Leone, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Rwanda, Somalia, Croatia, Cambodia, and the Western Sahara. And you know what? That's not the whole list. That's just part of the list where Canadians have been involved. The thousands and thousands of Canadians who served and made the ultimate sacrifice for us, these were real people. As a matter of fact, most of them were real young people, and we owe them such a huge debt of gratitude and thanks. Not just on Remembrance Day, which is November the 11th, but really each and every day of the year. And let's never forget the brave men and women in our police forces who put their lives on the line for us every day. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that just standing right here is a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The scarlet uniform of the RCMP is recognized and respected virtually everywhere in the world. I'm sure many of you had seen this uniform before you even came to Canada. It stands as a symbol of excellence, and it also stands as a symbol of service to the community. And Canadians everywhere are very, very proud of the RCMP. And thank you, sir, for being here. Thank you very much for your service today. As was mentioned a few moments ago, and just before we came out, my name is Dwight MacAulay, and I have the very distinct pleasure and really the honor to preside over today's citizenship ceremony. Until quite recently, I served the province of Manitoba as the Chief of Protocol. One of the main functions of that position was to deal with people who came here from other nations as ambassadors. But why am I telling you this? Well, in just a few moments, you're going to become ambassadors. Yes, you're going to become ambassadors. You're going to be ambassadors for one of the greatest, freest, richest, most beautiful countries that has ever existed in the history of this planet. You are going to be a Canadian. From this moment on, wherever you travel in the world, wherever you go, never be shy of telling people that you're a Canadian. Be as proud of this country. Be as proud of this country as this country is now today, of each and every one of you. You know, becoming a Canadian, as you know, it's not easy. To arrive where you are today, you've demonstrated courage and perseverance. You've had to work hard, and you've had to study hard. You've had to adjust to a new culture. You've had to adjust to a new way of doing things. You've had to make new friends. Some of you have even had to learn a new language. And every single one of you has had to make a new home in an unfamiliar country. An accomplishment like this, it's never easy, and it's certainly not without its challenges. You know, Canada as a country, it's not only beautiful, it's enormous, it's huge. We are the second largest country on Earth. Second largest country on Earth. But you know what? We have less than 1% of the world's population. Think about that for a moment. Second largest country on Earth, and yet we have less than 1% of the world's population. But I'll tell you this, right now at this very second, there are approximately 7.6 billion people breathing air on this planet. 7.6 billion. And you know what? Most of them would give anything. They would literally give anything to trade places with you here this morning in the Canadian Museum of Human Rights, because you are about to become a Canadian. Becoming a Canadian is something very special. With this honor comes privileges. But becoming a Canadian also comes with responsibilities. Becoming a Canadian is more than a technical qualification for getting a new passport, or being able to vote, or qualifying for employment. As a Canadian, you have a right to live free of discrimination and persecution. You can express your opinion without fear. You can practice your religious faith, and you do have a right to work in any province or territory in this country. Now, each of you here today who are about to become new Canadians, each of you has your own story as to how and why you selected Canada. For some of you, not all, but for some of you, the road to get here was not easy, and we know that. But regardless of where you're from, and regardless of whatever path you've had to take to get here, the good news, the really, really good news, is that you're here. You made it, and you're about to become a Canadian. Canada, as you know, is a proudly bilingual nation offering government services in both English and French. Toutes les lois fédérales du Canada sont rédigées dans les deux langues officielles. Toute personne a le droit d'être entendue en français ou en anglais à la Cour fédérale. Les Canadiens et les Canadiennes ont aussi certains droits concernant l'éducation de leurs enfants en français ou en anglais. Tous les citoyens ne payent partisans ces droits et ces libertés. Et tout, sans distinction de race, d'origine nationale ou ethnique, de sexe, de religion, d'âge ou d'incapacité mentale ou physique, sont égaux devant la loi. All federal laws in Canada are in both official languages, and every person has a right to use either English or French in a federal court. Canadians also have certain rights concerning the education of their children in either English or French. Now, all Canadian citizens share these rights and these freedoms, and each is equal before the law, without discrimination based on sex, national or ethnic origin, race, religion, age, or mental or physical disability. But as those of you becoming new citizens today already know, becoming a Canadian is more. It's actually a lot more than a list of things you're allowed to do. Becoming a Canadian is in fact a covenant between you and this nation. In other words, it is a bond. It's a bond that will go with you, and it'll be with you from this moment, and it'll be with you for the rest of your life. Something else I like to tell people becoming new citizens is this. Canadians, we are a very kind, we are very giving, and we are a very generous people as well. When trouble and disaster strikes, whether it's here at home or abroad, Canadians will help. Whether it's neighbor helping neighbor, or nation helping nation, we always stand ready to step up and lend a hand. So why do we do that? Well, we do it because we're Canadians. It's that simple. Whenever we see people in need, we will help. Over half of all the adults in Canada will at some point in their life volunteer to help within their community. And I hope those of you becoming new citizens today will do this. Go out into your community and volunteer. Share your talent, share your strengths, share your culture. Share your culture. And work towards building an even better Canada. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you can do that. I know you can do that, and I certainly hope that you will. I know all of you have waited anxiously for this day to arrive, but as you prepare to say the oaths of citizenship, you need to take what you're saying to heart, because these are not merely words we are asking you to repeat. When you say the oaths of citizenship, you are declaring your loyalty to Canada, and from this moment on, to always do your best for Canada. Now, I want to talk to the rest of you who are already Canadian in the room. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to stand and join those who are becoming new citizens and say the oaths of citizenship with them. Do that, and I'm going to guarantee you two things. It's a guarantee. Number one, you're going to feel better when you leave here this morning. And number two, you're going to stand and walk a little taller because you've just reaffirmed your citizenship in the greatest country on earth. And it's the country all of us in this room are lucky enough to call our home. And that, of course, is Canada. So now we're going to proceed with the oaths. I'll start with English. I'll repeat it in French. And I would like everyone in the room now, I'd like to ask you to please stand. I'd also like to ask all of you to please say both of the oaths with me.
Mr. MacAulay will now administer the oath of citizenship.
I swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, her heirs and successors, and that I will faithfully observe the laws of Canada and fulfill my duties as a Canadian citizen. Now en français, I'll go slow. Je jure que je serai fidèle et porterai sincère allégeance à Sa Majesté, la Reine Elizabeth II, Reine du Canada, à ses héritiers et à ses successeurs, que je observerai fidèlement les lois du Canada et que je remplirai loyalement mes obligations de citoyen canadien. Congratulations, you did it.
Please be seated. Mr. MacAulay will now present the certificates of citizenship. When I call your name, please come to the front where Mr. MacAulay will present you with your certificate. After you receive your certificate, please go to the area to the left of me to see the ladies over there to sign your oath of citizenship form. And after you have signed your form, you can go and have a seat back to your chair. Ouellette Basser. Rochelle Adior. Isel Aguinaldo. Jericho and Ciro. The Aquino family, Ernesto, Erica, and O'Derry. Fala Udin Babar. Bernard Belajadia. Mark Balbin. Mary Grace Barrio. The Chahal family, Gurwinder, Maninder, and Gurmandi. Tatiana Tchaikovskaya. Deidre Coleman. The Rosario family, James, Mary, and Dean. Ronessa Gabuna. Gutierrez. Harvinder Kaur. Jong-Soo Kim. Namisha Ladd. Ethan Lim. Gerald Magrata. Norman and Nadine Mallet. Jatinder and Amrit Kaur Man. Irene and Eunice Montubay. Orla family, Bentley, Lerma, and Caitlin. Mario Ouellette. Joseph Orgy. Nagog Fan. Telgi Pires. The Rovsky family, Victor, Katerina, and Maxine. Hadia Salman. Aisha Subur. Yu Zin Sun. Jeanette Talatala. Lilia Thompson. And last but not least, Ramez Yakub. And this completes the presentation of the certificates.
So, I have one last question for those of you who just became new citizens. It's an easy one. Was that so hard? Come on, lighten up. It's a great day, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great day. You know, if you were keeping track, or in case you weren't, I have to tell you, or I'm delighted to tell you, that 48 people representing 16 different nations from around the world became citizens in this room just now. I think that's amazing. How about everybody giving it all? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have, as I mentioned, some very special guests with us today, and some of them are going to be bringing greetings to you in just a matter of moments. The first gentleman, I have to tell you, I've done many ceremonies with him. Most of them have been at the Via Rail train station, but I'm delighted to see that he's here with us today. He is the Member of Parliament for this area, and a very good guy besides. Ladies and gentlemen, a nice round of applause for Dr. Robert Falcon, sir.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, all my relations, it's a great pleasure and honor for me to be here to share this beautiful occasion with you. And in honor of that, I'm going to sing you an honor song. This honor song, what it will ask is your ancestors to come to be here in this time and place with you.
Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. As I mentioned, we've done a number of ceremonies together, and I always enjoy doing the ceremony with Dr. Ouellette. Ladies and gentlemen, I earlier started off the ceremony today by thanking the people here at the Canadian Museum of Human Rights for allowing us to be here. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the Vice President of this magnificent facility, Ms. Angela Cassidy. Angela?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Okay, we're still all here. Bonjour et bienvenue tout le monde. On behalf of the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, I'd like to thank you all for coming here today. And I would also like to begin by acknowledging that we are on ancestral lands on Treaty 1 territory in the heartland of the Métis people. Et au nom du musée, je souhaite vous accueillir tous et toutes ici aujourd'hui. J'aimerais aussi commencer en français avec une reconnaissance du fait que nous trouvons sur ces terres ancestrales, sur le territoire visé par le traité numéro 1 et au cœur d'une terre de grande importance pour le peuple métis. I'd like to also thank Dwight for his excellent work in leading this ceremony. I'd like to thank all of the other speakers today, and I'd also like to thank the Institute of Canadian Citizenship and all the roundtable hosts and all of our guests for being part of this special day. The museum is particularly thrilled to hold this citizenship ceremony here on International Human Rights Day. Citizenship and human rights are deeply connected. Our citizenship links us to our identity, our community, and our place in this world. Citizenship itself is a human right, and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says that everyone has the right to a nationality and that no one can be deprived of their nationality nor denied the right to change their nationality. So even today, you are taking an act of human rights by choosing Canadian citizenship. La citoyenneté et les droits de la personne sont étroitement liés. Notre citoyenneté nous rattache à notre identité, à notre communauté et à notre place dans le monde. La citoyenneté est en elle-même un droit de la personne. La Déclaration universelle des droits de l'homme affirme que chaque personne a droit à une nationalité et que personne ne peut être privé de sa nationalité ni devoir refuser le droit de changer de nationalité. So today is an extremely important day for us here at the museum, and I'm privileged to have been able to welcome so many of you as you took your oath of citizenship. I myself, my parents on both sides of my family came here to this country. I am a first-generation Canadian, and I stand here on their shoulders. I recognize that when my father came to the country, he had to redo his education, and there were a lot of struggles. I acknowledge my grandmother, who spent time here even though she had education from another country, needing to clean houses and to sweep shop floors. But I recognize that their perseverance and their resilience allows me to stand here in front of you today. Alors c'est avec beaucoup de reconnaissance que je reconnais aussi mes ancêtres et la manière qu'ils ont œuvré une fois rendus ici au Canada pour que je puisse être ici devant vous aujourd'hui. So we are committed here. We heard a little bit during the roundtables. This museum is your museum. The stories in it are our stories. And I encourage you to spend time learning more about those who came before all of us, the way that they did have to struggle, but how their examples of perseverance allowed us to enjoy the Canada we enjoy today, but also through those efforts, how can we move this country together in a good way? And I also encourage you all to consider your responsibility as it relates to reconciliation. There are many stories throughout this museum that speaks to the rights of Indigenous peoples in Canada. And even though very often as newcomers we do not understand or know this history, that is part of our responsibility. So what does it mean when we talk about Treaty 1 territory? Who are the Indigenous peoples that have welcomed us to these lands? And what are our responsibilities to ensure that we can contribute to reconciliation? So the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada has calls to action. I encourage you to look at them, to find one that speaks to you, and that you find a way that you can contribute to reconciliation as well. Alors je vous encourage tous et toutes de contribuer à la réconciliation parce que le Canada de demain va bénéficier de vos efforts. Thank you again for spending some time here with us in the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. I encourage you with your citizenship pass over the next year to come often, learn about these stories. These are our stories, all of you together, and together we can continue to ensure that Canada is this great nation that can welcome future generations. Merci, Miigwech, thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela. By the way, Angela is one of the original members of this museum. She's been here right since day one, so great to have you here. And thank you again very much for letting us be here and sharing this wonderful day in this fantastic facility. We're getting close to the end of the ceremony, but one part of the ceremony asks people to tell us what it means to them to become a Canadian. In other words, filled in a form, something like this, and in essence they were asked to finish a sentence. The sentence starts off, it says, to me becoming a Canadian citizen means, and then somebody were good enough to finish that sentence. Now, many of you, in fact, have finished the sentence. We won't have time for all of them, but I've got a couple here I'd like to read to you today. One person writes, to me becoming a Canadian citizen means it's a dream come true. I dreamt of becoming a true Canadian since I was 12. Now, 23 years later, I've arrived in my dream harbor. Thank you very much, it's well said. Another person writes, to me becoming a Canadian citizen means finding a new home where I'm respected no matter what ethnic background or religion I have. Being a citizen is a privilege and a responsibility. It's a responsibility to have freedom and equal rights and to live in a place where there are endless possibilities and where dreams come true. Thank you, Canada. Well said as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in a few moments we're going to sing our national anthem. Our national anthem. Yours now, mine, our national anthem. You know, O Canada, I think, is one of the more beautiful anthems in the world today. I really believe that. I truly believe that. But there are three words in O Canada, three words that I think describe this country perfectly. So whenever you sing O Canada, from now on, at a hockey game or baseball game or community event or what have you, and you come to these three words, I hope you'll think back to this very special day when you became a citizen. Now the three words, they're also the motto on the coat of arms of the province of Manitoba. What are these three words? Well, the three words are glorious and free. There isn't a more glorious country on the face of the earth, I'm absolutely convinced of that, than the one all of us in this room are lucky enough to call our home. And as for being a freer nation, we all know this is the freest nation that exists on the planet, Canada. So, just before we leave today, there's a number of people I want to thank for making all of this possible. I want to thank our very special guests, Dr. Robert Falcon Ouellette, Ms. Angela Cassie, representing the Institute of Canadian Citizenship. Thank you very much. Representing our Canadian Armed Forces. Thank you, Captain, for being here. Representing the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and thank you very much for being here, sir. Thank you for your service as well. A number of people from the Citizenship Office that helped you find a seat and helped make sure that everything today worked okay. Now, the person who does the heavy lifting at these ceremonies is not me. It's the clerk, this lady right here, Sharon Fletcher. How about a nice round of applause for all of you who made this happen? Well, I think I've mentioned it a couple of times, maybe 3 times, that this is a day you're never going to forget. But I have to tell you something. This is a day that I will never forget. And that's the truth. I will never forget the honor and the privilege that was given to me in allowing me to be part of this very, very special ceremony with each and every one of you. And I thank you all sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Thanks very much.
Today we'll be hearing from the Winnipeg Youth Choir. Once they come up, we'll have everyone stand for our national anthem. So when singing the national anthem, we do encourage you to sing it loudly and with pride. We'll be singing the bilingual version, but you may choose to sing in either English or French. And the words to Old Canada are printed in your programs. So if you'd like to have your picture taken with Mr. MacAulay and the rest of the platform party, I ask that you please line up on this side of the room, and whoever is taking your photo can line up in the center.
Hello everybody, one more quick announcement. We have cupcakes for everybody at the back of the room and at the on the way to the rest of the museum. We hope that you're able to stay and enjoy the museum, and please take a cupcake, take more than one. You're welcome to.